Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the Viet vegan because I'm Viet and I'm vegan, and it's been a while. So here is a video that is compiled of a bunch of clips over the past couple months of just some food that we've been eating lately. It's been a little bit chaotic over here. There have been some life changes, but I'll get into that by answering some questions from Instagram and also giving y'all a little update on what's happening. So we're going to start off the video with a question from Crow from Instagram. Crow always asks this question anytime I open up my question box or whatever for Q&As. And so I asked these questions in like mid-June, but now it is almost August. But you know what? That's just life. I feel like that's a pretty good indicator about how I've been doing lately. So anyway, Crow asks, how have you been? And I am okay. I've been better. I've been worse. I'm on the mend. I think I'm doing a lot better. So if you've been following me on Instagram, I sort of like shared that I was feeling like lost or untethered or just like having a bit of an identity crisis, because I think things that I prioritized before I had been, it's not that I don't care about them now, it's just like with the perspective of like parenthood, wanting to be present and wanting to like spend this time with Bean while they're small and like, you know, want snuggles or want to hang out with me or whatever. Like I'm just trying to like cherish that. It's been, I think, difficult for me to sort of shift my focus and realize that like I don't care about the things that I used to care about before, or like things that I didn't care about before I want to care more about now. So like I didn't really care about what I looked like before. I didn't really care about my size or like, you know, whatever. And like I care now a little bit, not in the sense of like I need to look a certain way, but like functionally I want to be able to like keep up with my kid. I want to not have back pain. I want to not have health problems because I have a host of hereditary health issues on both sides of my family, and I would like to prevent that. Working out has, I think, helped me reach these goals a little bit better in terms of like my back pain is almost gone. I've been seeing a pelvic floor therapist and that has helped me a lot. I really don't understand why pelvic floor therapy isn't like included in all postpartum care or just like women's health, or like it's not even just women's. It's like if you have a uterus, if you have a penis, like anyone who has a pelvic floor, which is everybody, could benefit from pelvic floor therapy. So yeah, I just feel like it's like not talked about enough. I've been working out a lot more, and a lot of my like mental space or like my energy is spent on like working out, and like I haven't changed a lot of how I eat. Like as you can see, like it's all typical Viet vegan food that you see here. I am trying to make souvlaki. Eddie asked for a souvlaki meal or whatever, and like I don't really like souvlaki that much, but I was like, you know what, I'll try it, and it was pretty good. I don't even remember what recipe I was trying. I think I was just veganizing like a chicken souvlaki recipe, and it was fine. I think I'm still getting to know how to use stainless steel pots and pans, so like things were sticking, and like I don't know how to cook rice not in the rice cooker, so like that was also an issue. Everyone ate this meal and they liked it, so whatever, maybe I'll try it again later. But it was a lot of work. So the next question is, are you missing your old house and neighborhood? We are in the process of selling it. It closes at the end of the summer. So we've been living in Waterloo since the end of April. There are things that I miss about Hamilton, mostly like the food and like the community. Like the vegan community in Hamilton is amazing. I was like, not like best friends or like whatever. I was like chummy with like a lot of the vegan vendors in Hamilton. Like they're all just like awesome people, and I miss like popping in to like the stores or the restaurants and just saying hi and, you know, catching up. And the food is just really good in Hamilton. Not that Waterloo and Kitchener don't have vegan options, like they do, but they're not fully vegan, and there's not the same amount of like community I feel in KW that there is in Hamilton. I miss the parks in Hamilton. I feel like the parks are like a little bit better, and I miss the library programming. There's library programming here, but like you have to register for them and they fill up so quickly that I just like I don't have the energy. But I've been enjoying like some of the early on centers here. They've been really great. And of course I have like friends in Hamilton that I miss, and I haven't been able to like chat with them or see them as much as I would like when I used to live in the same city. So yes, I miss Hamilton. I'm a lot more supported here. I have my mother-in-law, my mother-in-law's sister, my sister-in-law. Yeah, I just feel a lot more supported than I did in Hamilton, and that has been a serious game changer. The next question is, have you found a new house yet? And the answer is yes, asterisk. I don't know if anyone is aware of how interest rates or housing prices in Ontario are like, but even if we renewed our mortgage on our current house, we wouldn't be able to afford it because the interest rates are so high. Yeah, I'm actually really glad that we sold our house when we did, because yeah, we can't afford our house anymore. So the answer is we found a new house, and it's the house that we're currently in. And so we're just staying here because the rent is a lot cheaper. And we can afford it. And I have support here, and I wouldn't have support where we would move. So yeah, we're here for the foreseeable future in Waterloo. That's the news of whether or not we found a new house. This was like literally decided like this week, so this is like still new. I don't know the logistics, but for the time being, like my sister-in-law lives here. She doesn't have any plans on moving out anytime soon. We don't want her to move out anytime soon. So the next question is, how has being a mom affected your relationship with Eddie? And someone else asked like a similar question, like how has becoming a parent affected your marriage? I want to say I don't feel like it has changed that much, but of course it has. Eddie and I don't have the same amount of time that we spend with each other. And like, I think we took our freedom for granted before. A lot of things that like we wanted to do or would do before, we do with Bean now, but obviously it's a lot harder because like we have to like manage a small child, you know, make sure that they're eating enough food, that we can change their diaper, that they're not getting too hot, or, you know, they can't stay in the car for too long. Like it's like, obviously there's a lot more parameters on it. Watching Eddie become a dad and like just like seeing them giggle and have their own bond and like horse around or whatever, like there are things that they do that I do not do. I feel like it's like a thing that happens with a lot of like dads, is that they just play really rough with their kid. And so like Eddie will just toss Bean in the air and I'm just kind of like standing there being like, you know, oh my God, your head is very close to the ceiling and I don't like that. But like, I know they're fine. I trust Eddie. I feel like that's just like big dad energy for a lot of people. So that's what's happening. Postpartum, I barely had any energy to like be physical with Eddie or like be physical with myself. Like I just like, my libido was just like in hell. Like it was just non-existent. I think my relationship with my body, like I just didn't feel like I recognized myself in the mirror, and I was just having a hard time sort of like healing postpartum. And like I was fine. I had some diastasis recti, but I don't think I was doing anything that like really would severely affect like I wouldn't have like a prolapsed organ or anything like that because I wasn't doing anything, but it was impacting my like confidence, my energy, and a lot of things. So I think becoming a mom has like forced me to prioritize myself more, because I've been like really losing myself in being a mom. I remember before this that people warned me like, you know, make sure that you have things that like make you feel like you. And I didn't really like notice it, or like I was like, oh yeah, that's, you know, that's not gonna be a problem. But I didn't notice that it had happened to me until I was like in the thick of it. And I was like, I don't know who I am anymore. Like I don't have time for like hobbies anymore. Being aware of that and like sort of reframing my focus and my priorities has, I think, made me like probably a better partner. And like Eddie and I make a pretty good team. We've obviously had our ups and downs. You know, it's a learning process of balancing emotional and like physical labor of like raising a kid. And I think that like we make a really good team, and he is like the dad that I had hoped for when I was growing up, and he's the dad that I wanted for Bean. It's really nice to see that. There are moments where Bean is just like walking and holding both of her fingers, and we're all walking together, and it's just like my heart is like so full. It's like all I ever dreamed of. We make a good team, and yeah, it's been a good time. Anyway, the next question is a bit lighter. What are your hobbies? Honestly, I don't have that much time for hobbies anymore. Some of my hobbies used to include playing like League of Legends with my friends on Discord. I don't know, just playing like whatever video game I wanted. I used to play, what was that game called? Genshin Impact. I used to play a bunch of that. I partially played with my brother, but I love open world games and I love that lore, and the music for it is amazing, and it's like a really beautifully made game. Really enjoyed it. I just don't have time to play that kind of game anymore, at least not on my computer like I used to. But I had been playing Breath of the Wild because Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I was like, man, I want to play that game because that looks super fun, but I hadn't played Breath of the Wild. So I bought Breath of the Wild, played that, really enjoyed that. I don't even know how many hours I sank into that, but like that was like what consumed me for the past like month or so while I was extremely burnt out. And so I would just play it in bed before I went to sleep. I would play it during nap and just disassociate and explore Hyrule. And I had a lot of fun. I just beat it. Now that I have, I guess, recharged my brain, I'm working again. But yeah, my hobbies have included video games or reading. The stuff that I've been reading is on my story graph if you want to see. I've been keeping it kind of light this year just because like I don't have that much time or the energy to like really emotionally invest into like big books. I've been reading stuff like fantasy, contemporary fiction. Mostly the only reason I'm still kind of regularly reading is because of a book club that I'm in. And I really like the book club. They always pick like really solid books, but I can only really do one thing at a time. So I can either work or I can have video game time or reading. Because I only really have like 2.5 hours a day to do anything. I have to choose working, reading, or whatever. And like I can't just do like, oh, I'll work for 45 minutes and play a game for 45 minutes and then, you know, whatever. I have ADHD. My brain doesn't work that way. It's all or nothing. Favorite video game is the next question that I have chosen from the plethora of questions. Also, thank you so much for sending in questions. I really appreciate it, even though this has been like 2 months late. Favorite video game. I really enjoyed Animal Crossing. I think it was also like that season in my life where Animal Crossing was like just really special to me because it was the pandemic. I spent a lot of time playing Animal Crossing with my friends. The music is really chill. The vibes are chill. Aside from that, I really enjoyed Stardew Valley. Honestly, my favorite games tend to be kind of open world, kind of grindy, cute. I really enjoyed Zelda, actually, like Breath of the Wild. And I think once I like get back in the groove of things with work, I might buy Tears of the Kingdom and play that as well. Yeah, I think my favorite games would be like Stardew, Animal Crossing. I don't know if Zelda's my favorite game, but I really enjoyed it. I just found it really satisfying. So yeah, that's just what I can think of right now. I'm sure there are lots of other games that I really enjoyed. The next question, were you worried Bean would be picky with food? Yes, I was extremely worried because Eddie is pretty picky with food and I'm picky too, but like I'm a lot more open to stuff, and like the things that I'm picky about are like, I don't know, I can't even think of things that I'm picky with right now, but I am particular about food. But Eddie has a lot of like textural / sensory issues with food. Yay, narrow spicy times. So like I knew inevitably that Bean would also have neurospicy times, and I've been fairly lucky. They are a pretty adventurous eater. I think for the most part it's because I eat with them, and so they basically see anything that I eat and they're like, ooh, I want to eat that. But I also recognize that currently Bean is in the very adventurous baby eating stage, and it's around actually this time that they start to get pickier. And they have been picky about certain things. Like they used to love beans and chickpeas and stuff like that, but now they won't even touch like chickpeas. They like hummus, but they don't like the bean itself. I don't really know, but they'll eat tomato baked beans. Like we had baked beans for breakfast like nearly every other day. They didn't like lentils the last time I made them. They like big kidney beans. Like if I cook those salted, they'll eat those fine. The beans are like a hit or a miss right now, and it's a little confusing because I made butter chicken the other day with chickpeas. Boy, it was so good, but Bean just like spit out the chickpeas, which was like, what? Mainly the thing that they solidly eat every single day is tofu, which is like, you know, tofu is an amazing food, but you know, I just wanted to vary it up with different protein sources, you know, for nutrition and iron. But yeah, they just were like, no, F all the beans. I only want soy products. So I'm trying to work beans into their diet in other places. So like we have baked beans for breakfast like every other day. So yeah, it's not like they're not eating any beans at all and they're only eating tofu, but it is primarily tofu. And the last question I think I have time to answer is, has Eddie's taste changed? Which I think is an interesting question, because what would make his taste change? But when I think about it, like it has changed actually. He like really likes pickles now. He used to not really like any sort of fermented food, and I don't really know exactly what happened. He always really liked pickled jalapenos and pickled peppers, but right now he's been in like a extreme pickle phase, you know, like the brand Extreme Pickles. We've been buying like Costco sized pickles, and he has crushed them, which is kind of shocking. And like for me personally, I used to love pickles, but pregnancy made me not want pickles like ever again. I don't like dill pickle anymore, which is kind of disappointing because I actually used to really like that flavor because it was like tangy and it was a good time. But now it's just like absolutely no thank you. He also is a lot more open to Vietnamese food than he used to be, especially with like fresh herbs or like fresh flavor profiles. Like before, he used to be like really into casseroles or like Japanese curry or like punch in your face kind of flavors, but now he really appreciates like the freshness of like Vietnamese cuisine, which is kind of exciting. I don't really know what has prompted these changes, but it's a good time for me. So anyway, that is all of the clips that I have for this video. So that's where this video will end. I appreciate you watching this. I'm sorry that the audio has absolutely nothing to do with the food. I'll explain more about the food in the description if that's something you're into. But this is just a chill, chatty video of just catching up and just trying to get back into the swing of things. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a delicious day. Bye-bye.